All right, what's up, people? So this is going to be 2 of 99. And this one's going to need a little bit of help. Okay, so this is... Okay, it's Surah 38, but there are going to be 4 mentions in this Surah. So this is the first. As a matter of fact, there are 2. Let's go check out the paperwork. There are going to be 2. This is the one we're going to be dealing with today, 3837. And then 3 will be 3841. And then we go over here, we have to go over to Iblis to get 4 and 5. 3874 and 3875. So we have 2 occurrences of Shaitan and 2 of Iblis in the same surah, which is a prefix surah that is the letter S or Sad. Make of that what you will. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to the second name. We're going to go to the second. Let me see if I can get my hand out of the way of this shit. I can't get the phone out of the way. And this green screen ain't working. Ar-Rahim. Okay, so you'll notice that Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. This begins, basically, this is part of the Bismillah. This is central to Islam. In the name of God. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Rahman, Rahim. You can tell I'm not a Muslim. Because I'd have cut my own head off for doing that wrong. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. That's always together. Now you'll see. Now see, this says the bestower of mercy, and this says the merciful. And you're like, well, what's the difference? And they even seem to share a certain root, and that is true. Ar-Rahman, the merciful. This is a passive sense of mercy. This is just basically describing God. The nature of God is mercy, right? The merciful. He is full of mercy. Ar-Rahim, the bestower of mercy. So it's like you start out with the seed and then it becomes a flower. So that's the way I see it. So this is the one that we're looking at today. Ar-Rahim. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to it. Now there's going to be a little bit of controversy here. So I'm going to start in a different order. Normally I would start here. But we're going to have to do this, save this one for last. And there's a reason why I say this. So we're going to start here with the one that Jafer recommended to me that I think is really awesome. And so what we got to find Ayat 37. Now the story here is that what is being described in the Quran, and this is a single story, regardless of what translation you like, this is talking about Solomon. And I'm sure you've known this through Jewish Talmuds or whatever, is that there is this idea that Solomon had like demons at his disposal. I mean, shit, they wrote a whole literature on it. You know what I mean? It's called the Keys of Solomon. And there's multiple. There's the lesser and the greater, etc., etc. So there's this concept that Solomon was in league with demons or devils or whatever, but this was by the will of God. That God basically said, hey, go work for that guy. Build the temple. Right? Okay, so if we go here, Ayat 37. And we subjected to him every builder and diver of the jinn. And it gives a footnote. So we're going to go look at that footnote. It's interesting. Now notice the word jinn there. We're going to see something about that later. So here's the note. The jinn dived to bring him pearls. Okay, interesting. So because he was building, the temple and everything else. So he had the jinn go get me some pearls, bro. Okay, so now here we go. This is my working Quran. And the devils building and diving. So it says we answered his prayer, and again, when it's in parentheses, We committed the wind. It is. You see, you got to just go. You just skip that part. It's not in the text. And we'll get to not being in the text in a second. We committed the wind at his disposal, pouring rain wherever he wanted, and the devils building and diving. So you have to take it in context. Okay. Now he uses the word devils. He uses the word jinn. He uses the word jinn. Now we got to go over here. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to want ayat 37 again. And from the rebellious forces of the jinn, every builder and diver. Right? Okay. You notice how of the jinn is in the brackets? This is the thing that you have to look out for. See, because watch this. The cool thing about this version of the Quran is it doesn't just give you the Arabic, which is Greek to me. You know what I'm saying? But it gives you the pronunciation of the Arabic. Right? So I want you to look at this word right here. What does that word look like? Shayatina. You see the word jinn anywhere in here? Do you see the word jinn anywhere in here? I do not. I do not. And as a matter of fact, you'll notice in here, this didn't make it into my 31 jinn because it says devils. And then over here, again, we get jinn. Over here, we get jinn. And it doesn't put it in brackets or parentheses. So he seems to think, for whatever fucking reason, he seems to think the word jinn is in there. We can go over here and look at, we can look at the, see if you can find the word jinn anywhere in here. This is the Arabic, this is like how you would read it if you were trying to pronounce the Arabic words, which I'm not going to make a fool out of myself trying to read the whole ayat, but this is shayatina. I don't know, it doesn't sound like jinn to me. But he puts jinn in there. But it's the rebellious forces. And then he puts of the jinn. So, interesting, right? It's interesting how translations affect the text. And because I do not read Arabic, this is just the most beautiful of the Arabics that I have. Thank you, Jafer. This was a good point out. And then over here, this is probably, like I said, you can see the thickness of it. It's just insane. But it's not really annotated. But I don't know, man. I don't like the fact that we can look at what the actual text says, the word it uses, and then you can translate it in parentheses of the jinn. At least you gave the parentheses. This motherfucker didn't. So whereas last time I said number one was this was my favorite translation, least favorite, middle. This time I got to go. This is my favorite because if you read it in couplet, I think it does the best. We committed the wind at his disposal, pouring rain wherever he wanted, and the devils building and diving. I think that's the best. I think this is the second best because they put it in parentheses. And this one, Jafer, sorry, fails because you use the word jinn without putting it in some kind of brackets or parentheses because it's not in the text. It's just not in the text, okay? So, again, so the theme here is obviously Ar-Rahim, for the name of God, which is the mercy but not intrinsic to God, but like blossoming out of God, being graced out, being given out, right? And then kind of as a parallel, you have devils being used to build Solomon's temple. I think that word is just plural of Satan, but it still counts. But so yeah, 2 down, 97 more to go.